I thought being positive was a positive thing. I thought I was just gonna have a lot of promiscuous, unsafe sex. I didn't know it was gonna change so fast. No one told me.
The gift pulls you in because it seems like it's like the biggest box of the whole room of presents. It's got the best bow, it's got the best ribbon, and it looks like the biggest and the funnest. And you open it up and it's just like a ball of nothing, and it just sucks all the life from you.
Give me the gift. Then I don't have to worry about it no more.
I have one friend who is always like, I want to be like all you guys, you know, you all have it and I don't. What's wrong with me? You know, I want to go out there and get it.
They want to be in the in crowd.
It definitely is not a gift to get it. I would definitely be gifted if I didn't have it.
I have no desire to give this gift to anybody.
Some people have even said, you know, oh, I'll give you your death.
I'm very aware of the barebacking parties that are going along. I'm disgusted by them.
It's like the silent killer because no one talks about it.
No one asks me if I'm positive or not. No one cares.
Just because they're positive and I'm positive doesn't mean you can have unprotected sex.
There's different barebacking going on today in the community than there was in the rodeo years ago. Barebacking basically is having unprotected sex, which is right up there with sticking a bullet, you know, sticking a loaded gun in your mouth. It's a little insane.
I have never heard of bug chasing. I have heard of bug chasing. I didn't know the bug. I have heard of bug chasing on the internet. I've seen people on the, heard people on the internet who do want to get HIV from their partner, which I do not understand that.
It sounds like a trap made from Raid or something.
Well, you know, deliberately saying, yes, I want you to give me HIV, I want you to give me AIDS.
But why would they call it bug chasing?
I don't know. Well, it's a bug. The HIV is the bug.
What about the people that have it and deliberately spread it around and know it? What do you call them?
That's a gift giver. And there are people that way. There are people who are evil. Bitter, table
I never
for one.
thought of it that way.
Bitter, table for one. It is wrong, but again, like I'm saying, you know, then I'm being a two-face, since I do have unsafe sex.
Yeah.
80% of the time.
A gift giver and a bug chaser.
I did the survey on the internet, and that was a really new medium because a lot of people were seeking out bareback sex on the internet because it's anonymous and it allows them to share with other people that they had never spoken to before. You don't walk into a bar and know that someone has bareback sex, but you can go on the internet and have bareback sex or know someone who has bareback sex. So really the chat rooms have become the new gay bars.
Most of my friends I know bareback. Almost every one of them I know has bareback.
Everybody that I know does bareback. I think in the gay community, realistically, I think 80 to 90% bareback.
You're in my dungeon. Talking about barebacking, we started bareback parties a couple years ago. It was just a group of friends is all it was, and I suppose the first one had maybe 15 guys.
Bill, my partner, and I have been together for 9 years now. And about 2 years ago, we started having sex parties.
They're all positive. You know, we all knew the situation.
Those friends went and told other friends, and they would call to see if they could get invited to the next party, and when was it? We didn't have anything scheduled. So we started scheduling them once a month.
The internet has become a meeting ground of people who have all types of sex, and they're even meeting places for people who have parties associated with bareback sex. Parties who advertise themselves as solely for men who are negative, parties that advertise themselves as for men who are solely positive, people who have both negative and some people positive going to the party.
The last party we had here in the dungeon, we had 167 guys that were here. We probably turned down 50 or 60. And we all have fantasies about what we'd like to do or like to try, and most of the time in our lives, I don't think we really can. And guys come here and they can. We have guys here, 21, 22 would be the youngest, and we've got them 70. Just trying to provide a play space for guys to do what guys want to do and do it safely. Most of us think we're already infected, so what do we have to lose? We can't get HIV again. And we get guys here from the various AIDS organizations that are volunteers or employed by them, and they're not using condoms.
There are also the conversion parties that happen where people advertise to become infected. For many, the virus has become eroticized because they actually see the virus as something special. Where it used to be something very negative, it's now something that defines them or makes them different and allows them to participate in forms of sex that they otherwise could not participate in for fear of getting the virus.
How do I feel if people convert here? Well, I'd probably feel real bad about it, but it's not something that I'm aware of. We don't have a disclaimer at the parties. The attorneys have said we probably ought to have, but what we tell the guys is that you just have to assume that everybody here at the party is positive, and therefore you need to act responsibly or accordingly to your particular situation. But we're not going to have a sex party and then ask guys to sign, legal documents before they can get in the door. That kind of ruins the mood.
The fantasy isn't that either you're going to kill this guy or that you're going to be killed by this guy. The fantasy doesn't include unattractive things, I mean, no one's fantasy man has a virus like this. The message is so muddled at this point that I think it's fair to say we're just not even doing prevention. There's a recent thing from the San Francisco AIDS Foundation about how do you know what you know? Well, what does that mean? How do you know that you're really negative? How do you know that your partner's really negative? And what are they talking about there?
Well, I don't think that's necessarily true. There's someone that would tell you that if they're negative or not. I think for the most part they probably would if you asked, but I don't think a lot of people ask, and so I don't think you're going to get an answer either way at that point. But there obviously would be people that would lie. People do lie at different times, so I think people would lie about it. Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty transparent in some ways, but I also hear horror stories about people who are practicing unsafe sex.
No. Yes, I have. And I totally trusted the person. Like the ad says, it wasn't, oh, I'm pretty sure he's safe, but I knew for a fact, for many reasons, knowing the person's history, through other people. So it wasn't just a first-hand account or a one-night, whatever.
Even for me, I'm always gonna have sex with a condom.
unless I'm specifically with someone like married or together or that kind of thing. And otherwise, it's not going to be an issue, and I don't care if I've known them my whole life. For some reason we hook up, I'm still going to use a condom, because I mean, I don't know, he might not know, you know, so.
Absolutely monogamous.
Absolutely, 100%. There's a lot of pretty boys out there, but if you can't get what's inside and underneath, what is there?
I had a friend who was 18, straight out of high school. First time he ever had sex, and he got HIV. He tested positive for it, had sex one time. Unprotected, to someone he thought he loved. He died this past year. I don't know, the virus spread through him like a grass fire.
A 24-year-old friend of mine called me, and he was in tears because he had just tested positive. And I did all the politically correct things. I was compassionate and supportive. And I said, "You're not going to die anytime soon." I hung up the phone, and I'm sorry, but the first thing that went through my mind was, "You dumb ass." He loved me so much, there was no way I was going to get AIDS.
The longer we were into the relationship, the more fearful he got.
I had a niece, she was about 11 years old, and I remember going up to her and going to kiss her, and she turned her cheek to me.
I watched him die. Oh, it took 18 months.
How could you be so stupid in these days? Everything that's out there, it's just stupid to be testing positive today. There's no reason for it. I mean, there are reasons. Low self-esteem. It's glamorization of AIDS. It's because of a misperception of AIDS. They're living longer. You know, we're living longer, and we don't have the outside obvious signs of it. We're faking it. We're getting real good at faking it, but we're dying inside.
It just didn't seem fair that I was 19, I felt lost, I wanted help, and I didn't have it. If someone came to the party and wanted to use condoms, it was a stigma. They were stigmatized. I mean, no one wanted to deal with them. It was like, well, let's put that freak in the corner, you know, the one that wants to use condoms. So shouldn't growing up in DARE and AIDS awareness make me smarter than this? After all, since 4th grade, my head had been pounded with just say no and practiced abstinence. After spending my sexed out year here, all I can admit is that the pressure is no longer to have safe sex. Instead, the focus lies on to simply inquire on the lubricant someone's using. Because, I mean, if you pull out the Wet or the Safeway brand one more time, I'm heading for the door.
It's the sex drive.
Sexual drive is strong. It overcomes so much sanity. But for a while, the statistics were showing that AIDS infections were going down. People were not a certain group of. No, across the board. Really? Yes, across the board. AIDS was scary enough to overcome that sex drive to some degree. It's not that people stopped seroconverting, but the rates were going down. And now, for some reason, that's not working anymore.
And now it's like, you're positive? Oh, well, what else is new? I think people sort of take it in stride now more than they used to.
It's such a 180-degree turn from what it started out, the shame, the hiding it, the not mentioning it. I mean, the word, much less.
It hasn't been mentioned on Will and Grace that I'm aware of.
It's still not mentioned the way it should be mentioned because it's light. It's AIDS light now.
When I started having unsafe sex, and people were like, wow, he's this cute, fun 19-year-old who has unsafe sex, and he's funny and he's nice, it seemed like, wow, I fit in. You know, people were calling me and say, hey, we have 4 guys over here and we should really come. We've told them all about you. And I thought, wow, people are talking about me. The rule is you never talked about HIV, like I said. You never talked about that. That was just, he didn't want to talk about it. I don't know why. I was desperate to have gay male friends, to make it work. And I was so different from all of them. For years, I tried. I'm like, how do I fit into? How do I click with you? What do we have in common? When I would go to clubs and everyone was so built up and things, you know, I wasn't. And I'm like, so how do I fit into all of this? how do I fit into this image of something I can't quite fulfill? So that made me think, well, if I don't fit here, I have to fit somewhere.
When I was still living in Illinois, I answered an ad on the web about a sex house this guy wants to open up in LA. I answered it and I came out. I was the first one to move in, and a few weeks later, someone else moved in. And we just started throwing parties. Parties just got bigger and bigger and bigger. LA Sex House was 99% bareback. We lost count, but we estimate that there were over 20,000 visitors. In a month, we would have 8 parties. Our policy on HIV status was we don't ask, we don't tell, and we had a sign up that says, assume that everybody's HIV positive. Everybody came to our party, couldn't tell if they had HIV or not.
I'd been cruising online for a long time, and nothing had really come of it, and I was just getting really frustrated, and I started to think, you know, if I want to have bareback sex, and if that's how I really want to be, then maybe it would just be easier if I would go ahead and find someone who was positive. The second I did that, it opened up a whole world of people to hook up with in San Francisco. I've struck the pot of gold.
Steve even made a checklist that you had to go through in order to get our email address later on in the year. Like, do you feel like you have to give us your HIV status, yes or no? And if they said yes, then they could not get the email address for like 5 hours. It kind of kept the condom users away. We did things that people dreamed of, no drugs, just lots of sex.
It didn't take long before I stumbled upon the idea of bug chasing. People had talked, one person had talked to me about it on the phone line before I started hooking up with positive tops. And I told him he had to be negative, and he said, well, he's positive. And I said, well, you know, and I was still like, well, I guess maybe we could hook up, but, you know, you can't come in me. And he would say, oh, but I want to. And then he said, sorry, it's hard. He would say, well, so, well, he goes, no, I'll charge you up, and that's just really hard to say. I didn't know exactly what that meant. I knew he meant he would infect me, but I hadn't, and the idea sort of started to make sense and click together, but I kind of pushed away at it. The initial part of me said, no, that's not right. That's not what we do. That's not how Doug runs his life. Doug aims to stay negative and live a long, healthy life. But something in me, I kind of went like,
Dealing with the conflict about having a group of positive men over here, wanting to be supportive of them, wanting to tell them that HIV isn't the end of their lives, that there are possibilities and so on, and then taking this group of negative men over here and saying, listen guys, it's very important not to be like them. Before then, there were very explicit messages about not getting infected, about what happened to people when they got HIV and so on. And we had to stop doing that because it was frightening to positive men and it induced guilt in negative men. It felt rejecting. We never talk about the objective of prevention. We've pretended that the objective of prevention is safe sex. That's not an objective. That's one method for doing prevention. The objective of prevention is to keep uninfected men uninfected. The minute you introduce the idea that it's better to be uninfected, some positive men become hurt and angry. And the response is sort of like, what are you implying there's something wrong with me? Something wrong with my life? Well, the answer is yes.
The guy who said he wanted to charge me up, I think it felt like, to him it was a means of control. Like, here's this 19-year-old kid who's healthy, and he could take that away from me. He had what I wanted, and what I wanted in terms of, he was interested in the prospect of gift giving. He liked that. He had padded walls. I mean, literally padded walls. He had pads, like, on the wall, and I was like, this is a little too Jeffrey Dahmer for me. But I didn't care. I didn't go there to be his boyfriend. So I stayed, and he was actually nice. So that was that. We had sex. I mean, you know, no blood, no guts.
After a couple of months of throwing parties at the LA Sex House, I got sick, and really sick. So I went to the doctor and had all the work done, all the blood test work done. I was still negative. I decided to go ahead and throw a conversion party to become HIV positive. Bug chaser looking for 10 to 15 pause guys for my conversion party this Friday night. I'm scared of not knowing I'm HIV positive than knowing. I'd rather know. It's just not worth getting yourself all worked up over. If you're going to bareback and you're going to get it, you're going to get it anyways. So why not have fun? I put an ad on Bareback Jack. They call conversion party bareback sex party. About 10-15 guys have replied to it. Really hot guys too. Only positive people allowed at my party, dude. Give me their pause loads and leave, and hopefully get the gift so I don't have to worry about HIV anymore. I hate condoms, man. Give me the gift. I'm a bug chaser. I want to get the bug this weekend. No, I'm not afraid of AIDS.
None of us chose this virus.
Yeah. These people
and these people are choosing it.
And to call it a gift just blows me away.
Yeah.
Do you know what I just thought about? I wonder if the kids that are negative that go to these things, they feel like maybe it's just inevitable they're going to get it, so why not
absolutely.
make a party out of it?
Absolutely. That's what their mindset is.
They see no other option, that eventually they will get it. So
but they also don't know what the reality is.
No,
they're not seeing it. And I don't blame them for being tired of worrying about it. But you know what? Get the fuck over it. Okay? Sorry. But you know, you gotta worry about nuclear war, you gotta worry about terrorism, you gotta worry about AIDS. And I'm sorry if you're tired of it. I'm tired of worrying about when my heart's gonna stop. I'm tired of wondering if my liver might explode someday down the road. I'm tired of it. I mean, you know, these excuses have been made, and they make sense, and it's very sensitive, and it's politically correct of us to say, but we're running out of excuses when the seroconversion rate is rising among young gay men.
Planning a birthday party at Palm Springs, August 4th, Saturday. And there'll be about 100 guys there. It's all barebacking.
If you are positive and you don't use rubbers and you don't use protected sex, you will be infected with another person's virus.
People know that, you know, it's not really a death sentence anymore, and there'll be a cure soon.
I've known 3 people that have died because they had another partner that was HIV positive, and they decided, well, we're both positive, we can go ahead and have unprotected sex. One virus combined with the other virus together killed them. Before they met the person, they were fine.
Inviting people off the internet that answers the ad and wants to come, so they have to send me a photo and their stats.
How could you live with yourself knowing that you infected that person when it only took 1 second to put a condom on, 1 minute of the whole experience to put the condom on and feel reassured that you are a good person, that you do respect yourself, and most of all, you respect the person that you're with.
Yeah, San Francisco! Happy Gay Pride, everybody!
We now have generations who were virtually unconscious and became conscious in an era of HIV. And you come to San Francisco to be gay, and HIV is just part of the scene. It's part of what it's about. You go to the Gay Pride Parade, I mean, it's all about AIDS. You know, what were the floats about before the epidemic, you know? No one can remember. It's the AIDS Health Project, San Francisco AIDS Foundation, Shanti Project. These floats are all from the 75 agencies that address people with HIV and AIDS. There's a lot of entanglement, it's a very destructive one.
How many bug chasers have I chatted with online? Probably, we've been talking anywhere 50 to 60 people. The bug chasing groups, I would say 15 to 20,000 members. There's a lot of people that are getting curious. I said, what is that? It looked like a little skeleton with, I don't know. He said, well, it's a biohazard tattoo. And I was like, okay, are you chemically altered? And he was like, well, yeah, in a big way. And he said a lot of people look for that. And they put it just above their stomach, like above the underwear line, maybe even below sometimes, so it's not real obvious. And it lets people know he's HIV positive. Biohazard, HIV positive. They want to just not have to ever have to discuss it. I saw people with HIV negative, and then I saw people with HIV positive. The negative looks for the guys with the positives, and vice versa. And then after that, after the guy converts, he gets the positive. He gets the line drawn through the negative.
Somewhere there's a fabulous 45-year-old guy who has stayed negative all these years. I don't know him. I haven't met him. Well, why isn't he an icon?
That's a great campaign. Yeah.
Why isn't he on a poster?
The thing is, I don't know if there is that man out there.
He's out there. He's out there, and we need to find him. He is out there.
All right.
He's not a prude. He's not an ugly nerd who spends his life in the library. He's a vital, alive, gay man who cares about himself, and he has stayed HIV negative.
How?
He has practiced. I'd love to hear his story, but we don't hear his story.
You think there's someone out there who's practiced safe sex completely?
Maybe the reason that this person who's been HIV negative all these years is not emergent is because it's really not okay for him to say, I'm HIV negative. You guys aren't. You guys might or might not be, but I'm HIV negative. That's not cool. Wait, yeah, in our culture, that's so insensitive. How could you throw AIDS in our faces?
When I went into someone over 30 that isn't positive, I'm impressed.
That's why we need to elevate these people who are HIV negative. They need to get out there. They're the ones who need to be talking. We need to, they are the ones who need to be glamorized.
When I went to get tested last time in March 2000, I was expecting a positive reading, and it was. The feeling, I could say I was relieved that I finally got it, and I don't have to worry about, do I have it, do I have it, do I have it? And if so, do I need to be careful? Not anymore. Happy. Relieved. I can breathe again. I don't know anybody that's on medication. Who wants to talk about medications during a sex party? Not me. Everybody I know, my internet friends or party friends, We don't discuss HIV because we don't care. If it happens, it happens. So why waste time talking about it? Close friends, I don't have any really close friends except for one, and we never talk about HIV. I don't even know if he is. He doesn't know I am. If I had a best friend that became positive and he told me, I would say, oh, it's too bad. Don't you feel better that you're positive now and you don't have to worry about it? I'm sure he would say yes. If I get sick, I'll take the medication. But I don't see that happening for at least 5, 10, 15 years.
I always thought that I would be more content, and I thought I would be better off if I was positive. When I wake up, when I look in the mirror, or when I remember that I'm positive and I look in the mirror, there's this little voice in the back of my head that looks back at me and goes, happy now? Happy now? Happy now? And I'm not. I've made a terrible mistake. I've made an awful mistake, and there's no fixing that.
There was a couple that we knew, and it kind of almost sounds like your scenario, you taking care of your lover and everything. And the final week of this guy's life, his lover, who was HIV negative, was so distraught over the thought of losing him. And he was being cared for at home by nurses coming in. He had IVs and that sort of thing, that I think it was like, death was so imminent. They were so in love. They were such a couple. They were so united. And he just could not stand. He could not let go of his lover, and didn't want to be on this planet without his lover. And he pulled the IV out of his lover's arm and jammed it into his own arm. And he became HIV positive.
That kind of loss just went on and on and on with people. For negative men, it was very hard to talk about. They were the ones who didn't have the problem, was the feeling. And it's like saying to someone, you know, you may be dying, but I'm very upset by that. But the truth is that negative men who had sustained these just, I think, really unimaginable losses. Friends my age who had these largely gay male social circles who literally have lost everyone that they knew.
Yeah, I lost 2 relationships where going into it, the person knew I was positive, they were negative, and one was 7 years. The longer we were into the relationship, the more fearful he got, and I think it was just seeing me go through the drugs and go through the diarrhea and the fatigue and everything else. He just got more frightened, to the point that sex stopped completely. He just completely pulled away, to the point that one day he was going to work, and he had shaved, and I went up and kissed him on the cheek goodbye, and he freaked out that I kissed him. And he was like, what are you trying to do, give me AIDS? Yeah. And I couldn't believe that we'd gotten to that point.
This awful grief and depression and anxiety that people experienced in the early years of the epidemic is just submerged a little bit. It's just underwater. It's like a submarine with a periscope out.
I've lost 2 lovers to AIDS. I've had an HIV negative lover who told me during our honeymoon that he loved me so much there was no way I was going to get AIDS. He wasn't going to let it happen to me. And he was gone 2 years later because he couldn't deal with it. He was too scared. It was too frightening for him. I've been single for 9 years now, and people wonder why I'm single. And, you know, I don't want someone to get that close to me. I don't want to take a chance on losing them, and I don't want them to have to bury me. You know, that's just going to have to fucking do me until it's over with.
maybe the most painful thing that's happened with HIV in gay communities is that it's divided communities, and at a smaller level, divided people. I mean, it's divided couples. It's unimaginable to be that different from someone that you love. When Rob found out he was positive, it was very incidental. He was getting a visa to go somewhere, and they needed an HIV test. And he believed that he was negative. And I came home, I saw on his face that he was stricken. He said, "I'm positive." And my life has not been the same since he said that to me. I'm talking to my very old friends, John and Ella. I'm telling them about this. You know, Rob is HIV positive. Ella shrieks. And she keeps saying to me, "But what about you?" And I didn't even know what she was asking. You know, I didn't even know. She kept saying it, but I kept not answering it because I didn't know what the question was about. Finally, she just insisted on it. She said, "What about you? Are you positive?" And I realized that in a way I hadn't thought of it, that I hadn't thought of it, or I just assumed I was. But it wasn't that simple either. There was something else going on. And I thought about it, and I realized that I hoped I was. Assuming that if he was positive, well, I had to be like him about that. I mean, that I couldn't be different about something that important. So Rob wanted to get another test, and I wanted to get a test. And when I think about it, I wanted to get the test to confirm that I was positive. The county worker said, "Your test is negative." And I immediately burst into tears. It was like instantly. And I drove immediately to John and Ella's house. John answers the door, and I'm standing there like this, like, you know, "Help me." I think, you know, "Help me," and crying with it in the helmet. And John, they knew I was getting a test. And John said, "Ella, my God, Walt is positive." And he said, "No, I'm negative." And John kept saying, "Walt is positive," and I kept saying, "Negative." And when they finally understood this, I'm just reliving all of this. You know, this is like 15 years ago. "But why are you crying?" It's negative. Because I'm negative, and Rob is not. I couldn't bear it. You know, it's just, I'm amazed at how powerful this is to me all these years later. I stood there, I wanted John to help some way. You know, to help me for this, none of this to be true. And then 7 years later, Rob died.
I've never officially been to a gift-giving or bug-chasing party, but I've been to barebacking parties. And they say, specifically, don't ask status and don't tell status. And that's just the rule. If you do it, you're asked to leave. And really, they know that there are going to be bug chasers there. They know there are going to be gift givers there.
Kimboy has rented the dungeon to have a party tonight. About 150 guys are coming, and they're from his list. He's invited guys, and then we have a list, and we've invited them. And they are coming here for our standard fuck party that we generally hold here once a month. I mean, the rules basically have always been no drugs, no attitude, no condoms, no clothing. We do allow condoms now if guys want to use them. We have no problem, but 100 guys, 120 guys at the party will find 2 or 3 condoms the next morning on the floor. That's it. Well, do you want to see the new equipment and stuff we've got?
We have 3 portable slings out here in the yard, and the guys love coming out and having sex outdoors. It's really kind of romantic.
Well, we actually call that the fuck pew. The Southern Baptists wouldn't take too kindly to that, but it's made exactly the right height. Little bottom boys can get on it, and the tops do their thing. So we designed it, and it's been pretty popular. And generally, the parties are split between fucking and fisting, and the fisting guys will tend to stay over in this area here, and then the guys over here just for the fucking, then we'll take care of the rest of it.
I've been in the hospital 3 times whenever we spoke. Since then, I've been in the hospital twice.
Parties are very popular, and there's no judgments made one way or the other about the type of sex that the guys are going to have. And
Bill will say that barebacking didn't have anything to do with it. However, I somewhat disagree.
But the action is pretty hot and heavy here. It starts just almost immediately.
I still do it. It's my choice. I enjoy it. I don't like to use a condom. There are a lot of dangers to barebacking. I don't play at the parties as much as I used to, because I do tend to get sick easier than most people. And some of the diseases I have, like I said, they don't know what they are. The party tonight is a birthday party for one of the guys. That's also one of our models. He's been in several of our videos. And we're going to set this room up so that we can film it. He wants us to shoot his birthday party. And he's going to be here in the sling, and guys will just come in and have sex with him.
Birthday to you. Okay, open your present. There it is.
Right here. This is going to be his birthday present, I guess. They'll just come open these drapes and unwrap their present. So, it's going to be a wild time. As you can see, it's a small room, so we're not going to be able to get probably 12 people in here at a time.
And I will be 28 on the 7th of August. I'm not worried right now about getting anything else, like any STDs, because I want to have fun right now. I don't want to have to worry about it. Hopefully it'll be around 300 people. Hope they show up.
Kenny had a great time. He got, his goal was to take as many loads as he could take. I don't know how many times he had sex. Probably 40, 50.
There were beautiful men surrounding us.
Happy birthday, Kenny. 2 from Paris.
Fisting.
And 1 from Germany.
Dual men.
2 from Amsterdam.
This is something that my dreams are made of.
So it gives them a place to come and have sex and not be worrying about somebody saying, "Are you positive?"
Yes, I bareback last night. It's stupid, but I did.
I think nowadays it's a choice that we make. We're not as afraid of it because sometimes we have a lot of pressure, whereas nowadays everybody is HIV positive.
Actually, I'm not HIV positive.
I am negative. I'm positive that I'm negative.
You're telling me you're not HIV positive?
I'm not. I'm negative.
So you're not gonna cop up to the fact that you're HIV positive?
Yeah, I'm not. I'm HIV negative.
Do you think people lie about their HIV status?
Yes.
I do. So do I. It's a perfect example right now. I do, and I'm not. See, that's the thing. And he might think that I am.
Bullshit.
I have grown away now from the feeling of wanting HIV, I think. When I cry this much about Rob, I wonder. But I think I've grown away from that feeling. But not until after he died. You feel you failed someone when you let them die. That's just plain and simple the feeling. If you can't prevent them from dying, the next best thing is to do it with them. Negative men can't talk about all kinds of things. And this is a community problem. This is what's driven our prevention and the way we do it, how we've conceptualized it, all of that. The real normalization of HIV has occurred in gay communities. That's who's really tried to normalize it. It's like a shadow that people live with.
You guys, I want you to meet a true rarity. This is Deech Jones. Deech is a rarity,
First of all, how old are you?
37.
37. He's HIV negative. Surprise, they're still out there.
Thank goodness.
1 in 3 gay black Americans is HIV positive in this country, and Teach is not.
Just knowing the statistics about 1 in 3 gay black men being HIV positive is a frightening thought for me, and it just feels like that this has my name written all over it, and it's only a matter of time before I'm the next statistic. I mean, every time I'm with a guy, I think about that. Recently, a close friend just told me last Friday, actually, that he tested positive, and that was very devastating. And I mean, for me, even though it wasn't me, but just because it was him and we were that close.
Do you talk about sex with?
You ask.
Do you find out their status?
Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. I mean, I always try to watch what I do and be safe, but it doesn't always happen. I mean,
Something has made you stop from having unprotected sex.
it's not like I have a calculation. I can give you the formula. This is what makes me do it. I really can't.
It sounds like fear is making you not do it.
Thank you. Yes.
Having a close friend tell you that he's HIV positive, does that make you feel more vulnerable? That it happened to your friend, could happen to you?
Yes, exactly. It's like death knocking on the door. I mean, I hate to say death.
Say death. We need to hear death. There's no cure for AIDS.
Now this I find amazing. In there,
Like I said earlier, all they make me want to do is have sex.
Yeah, exactly. That one's giving me a boner right now. It's been a while.
they're incredible.
And not one of them looks ill.
They look like they have the gift you want. That's what they look like.
Oh, yeah. You know, of all these posters, there's only 2 that I think are relevant. Don't throw in the towel. It's there. You know, there's no naked guys.
Yeah, but what does don't throw in the towel mean?
Don't give up being your vigilance. Don't get complacent. Stay safe. And then this one, bang, you're dead. You're dead.
No, I like that better than don't throw in the towel.
The point is, it's not working. The statistics are going up. These aren't working. We need something different.
One of the reasons upstairs I said something about why do HIV negative people need beer busts. And I think the reason I've always thought that is because I've always thought that HIV negative people had it easier. They have it so much easier. All they have to do is not get it.
Where do HIV negative guys get to go and hang back and talk about how hard it is to stay HIV negative? What it's like dating someone who's HIV positive. Other than some support. Well, you need an HIV positive beer bus because HIV positive people need to know that this is a place where they're going to feel very welcome. They're not going to worry about the stigma of having AIDS or HIV. Well, why can't we make the leap and have an HIV positive beer bus where it's anticipated there's going to be some HIV negative people?
I think,
and vice versa.
Basically what you're saying is no HIV positive men wanted. I'm suggesting that HIV negative beer bus or the HIV negative life is there. That is the world. The HIV positive world is the exception.
It's 50%.
But you don't feel a need to talk about being negative, do you, with a bunch of other negative people, do you?
That's only if I know them. Well, no, I do feel that need. Only if I know they're negative, but...
They don't talk out loud about that. Why would I don't know.
I'll tell you why. Because if you were positive, that would be insulting.
That would hurt our feelings.
And that's why we're having this conversation now. And actually, this is the longest conversation I've ever had with a guy that's positive.
We have to quit worrying about upsetting positive people. Fuck upsetting them. That may give me a lot of backlash. People may think that sounds cruel and mean. You know what? I'm willing to risk my being a little, maybe, scared when I accept the reality of what I've brought into my life.
You've had a cardiac arrest. You had a cardiac arrest. You almost did. I've had a cardiac arrest. And John and I were talking just the other night. I said to him, I said, you don't really think you're going to die of AIDS, do you? I mean, you know what you're going to die of.
Yeah, it's going to be cardiac.
It's going to be a heart attack.
And that's been the real dilemma lately. It's like, take the drugs and develop more cardiac symptoms, or not take the drug. You know, it's like you end up taking pills for the pills, and then pills for those pills, and it just gets out of hand.
Going through them all from the beginning, from the very first combinations, and dealing with all those side effects, and switching, going, and trying, and dropping. I don't know if I'm going to die from AIDS or not. And the heart attack was a complete surprise.
My heart attack was at a major heart attack about 5 months ago.
Now people are developing diabetes. The last time I saw my physician, he said that my blood sugar was at the point I need to be very cautious that diabetes may be on the horizon. And like,
I'll tell you, I am fearful about the things that I might develop because of these drugs. The wasting syndrome that a lot of people are going through. There's so many unknowns out there.
all of these drugs are so new, they don't know what the long-term effects are. We're all walking guinea pigs.
Yeah.
They don't know what, our heads could fall off.
But here's what the future is, okay? Death certificates are no longer going to be, say, death due to HIV infection. Death certificates are going to say death due to rectal cancer,
heart attack,
two drugs, diabetes, and liver. And that's going to dumb down the whole AIDS thing, the consciousness of it, the awareness of it. It's going to make it polite again.
When I saw the HIV drug ads around town, they were muscular and they looked strong and they were cute, and they were people I wanted to date. I never understood what the point was. I mean, who is it informing? Why do I care that this medication has less side effects? I'm not taking it. From what it seemed great. Like, oh, well, take this medication and look, you'll be fine. You'll feel good. You'll feel much better. When I saw the hepatitis ads, which happened to be a muscle man's stomach, and it says hepatitis C or hepatitis romantic, and it says like nausea so bad you want to die, and then just all the symptoms. I mean, just the listing of the symptoms, I was more frightened to get hepatitis than HIV. The ads that I saw for smoking campaign scared the hell out of me. I'm not a smoker today. I never have been, never will be. But I'm HIV positive.
I don't know who should be doing prevention. My personal experience is that heterosexuals have done better prevention for gay men than gay men have done. They're not in the middle of the war of politics and feelings and guilt and identification and this whole thing that all of us are entangled in.
I'm doing meds now. It's a pain in the butt. And everyone says the same thing. Oh, you'll get used to it. You'll adjust. You'll get better. Think about my life before meds. And it was a lot easier.
We have to recognize that HIV status has some effect on how we feel about things, and therefore how we think about things, and therefore on what we do and don't do. And that given the history of prevention, which, I don't know if it's a miserable failure, but it's pretty close.
My mom's great. All my life. It's always been my mom and me. There's my little brothers, there's my big sister, there's my dad, there's everyone. It breaks my heart, the thought of leaving them. I just can't believe that it seemed like it was a livable thing to me. There was no benefit in this. And that's just what really needs to be said. so hard.
Going to college, and everyone's buzzing along, and I'm just middle day, end of day one, middle of day two, I'm running out. I don't want to get tired so fast. I still, in school, you know, I find myself holding back, making friends. I'm in a small town, and it's hard enough being like gay and fitting in. But being gay and having HIV and being around people my own age for the first time in a really long time, it's hard for them to understand. And I just don't want to risk them not understanding.
Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you join us now as the Golden State Gay Rodeo Association performs the ceremony of the riderless horse. The ceremony of the riderless horse symbolizes the end of the relationship between horse and rider. One last ride into battle, one last march down the parade route, a farewell to comrades left behind. We perform the ceremony today to honor those members of the international gay rodeo community who have been taken from us by the disease, AIDS. We've lost so many. We love you and we miss you. And we know you ride with us today.